Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. Today we take a break from our best Space Marine series for something that's equally as important, The Little Mermaid. After much deliberation, me and Ben have concluded that The Little Mermaid and Aquaman are basically the same exact character. Today we're going to break down 10 reasons why we think that. Arthur Curry was half human. His mother, Atlanta, described by the New York Times as hip-hop's center of gravity, was an Atlantean, an ancient race of beings that lived underneath the ocean. They looked like humans and, more importantly, could procreate with humans, but also had some other anatomical differences, which gave them some extrasensory abilities and what humans would consider superpowers, but more on that later. Atlanta was supposed to marry Orvex, the king of Atlantis, but he was kind of a dickhead, at least in the comics. Not only did he mistreat the beautiful Nicole Kidman by banishing her to the Trench, which was a really terrible place, he was also anti-human, which we here at Generation Films consider a very serious hate crime. Anyway, in the 80s, Atlanta had left Atlantis and fallen in love with Thomas Curry, who had saved her after she was gravely wounded in a battle. Thomas Curry was a human being who maintained a remote lighthouse in order to hide his dangerous past as a bounty hunter and template for an entire clone army. Thomas Curry and Queen Atlanta would go on to have a child together who they would name Orin, but that's just a stupid sea people name. Orin would eventually get a normal human name, which was Arthur. Ariel, on the other hand, was the daughter of King Trident and Queen Athena, who looked just like Ariel and should not be confused with the goddess Athena from the Hercules series. Both of Ariel's parents are merpeople. These were actually hybrid, half-human, half-fish people. So both Aquaman and the Little Mermaid are half-human. Arthur and Ariel were both raised by strong single fathers, who, by the way, really don't get as much attention as single mothers do. Anyway, after giving birth to Arthur, Atlanta realized that she put both Thomas and her new son in grave danger and needed to return to Atlantis, forcing Thomas to raise little Arthur Curry all by himself. The only thing Arthur had from his mother was a quindent, which left him more than a bit bitter at her, not truly understanding why she left.
What a saint.
You dare speak of Queen Atlanta that way?
Your queen left me on my father's doorstep and never gave me another thought.
Despite just being a mortal human, Thomas was a strong and caring father and raised Arthur on land until his powers began to develop. When Ariel was very young, Queen Athena and King Trident were relaxing in a small cove with a bunch of their fellow merpeople when a group of pirates accidentally run Queen Athena over with their boats. This unfortunately kills Ariel's mother and leaves King Trident bitter and depressed to the point where he even outlaws music in his kingdom. Still, he takes on the monumental task of raising Ariel and her sisters. Although he can be sometimes harsh and overprotective, like Thomas Curry, King Trident just was trying his best to be a good dad. A merdad. The Atlanteans and the merpeople both had prejudice against human beings. They viewed the humans with great suspicion and viewed them as a barbaric race of beings. The Atlanteans, having superior strength and far more advanced technology, saw the humans as weak and puny. They were also really pissed off that the humans were dumping trash and pollution into their oceans. King Orvex and later on his son Orm would have some serious beef with humanity. Orm, who is Arthur's half-brother, devises a plan to destroy humanity and unite all the underwater kingdoms against humanity and take back the planet. The merpeople, on the other hand, were less advanced than the humans of their time. Therefore, naturally, they were afraid of humanity and tried to stay away from them, not really understanding or trusting their motives. After the death of Queen Athena, King Trident becomes increasingly hateful of humans and forbids any contact between merpeople and humanity. The merpeople were also really pissed off that we were polluting their oceans. Despite what their people might have thought, though, Ariel and Arthur both were united in the fact that they saw humanity in a better light. Arthur, being half human himself, understood that humanity, while not perfect, does not deserve to be wiped out by his dickhead half-brother Orm. Arthur's mother, Queen Atlanta, saw him as basically the connection between humans and Atlanteans who would one day unite these two people together.
We could unite our worlds one day.
He was an individual who understood both worlds and belonged to neither, and one day he would hopefully also serve as the protector of all races on Earth. But let's stop there, we don't want to spoil the movie. Despite the fact that Jack Sparrow ran over Ariel's mom with the Black Pearl, that's right, that's our theory because they are both technically Disney franchises, so you heard it here first. Anyway, so despite the fact that her mom was killed by Jack Sparrow in a hit-and-run accident, Ariel is still extremely keen on learning as much as possible about humanity as she can. She has an odd collection of all kinds of different human artifacts that have fallen into the ocean throughout the years. and she's rightly amazed and inspired by the many creations of humanity, including their technology and advanced culture. Despite her father's disapproval, Ariel falls in love with a prince called Eric that she saves from a shipwreck. Eric eventually returns the favor by saving Ariel from the evil sea witch Ursula, and proves his love for Ariel, which in turn shows King Triton that not all humans are all that bad, and the mermaid and the human prince live happily ever after, which is a positive step towards creating an alliance between humanity and mermaids against the real enemies of all beings on Earth, dolphins. It should be noted that in the original Dutch Little Mermaid fairy tale that the Disney movie is based on, when the Little Mermaid makes a deal with the sea witch to turn into a human so that she could walk on land, every step she takes feels like knives piercing her feet. And in the end, the prince actually gets married with a normal non-mermaid human, which breaks the Little Mermaid's heart and turns her into sea foam. That is the official non-Disney-fied canon story of the Little Mermaid for all you purists out there. Both Arthur Curry and Ariel have the ability to communicate with fish. Aquaman is able to do this telepathically and able to control them even. Although he can't really use his ability in secret though, because his eyes turn golden when he's doing this. His power to communicate with marine life would be further supplemented by a powerful artifact, but we'll talk about that later. Ariel also has the ability to speak to fish. As a matter of fact, her best friends are a tropical fish and a Jamaican lobster, which is kind of sad. The Little Mermaid and Aquaman also have an ability called aquakinesis, which allows them to control water. Arthur Curry, with his royal Atlantean blood, was able to use artifacts like his Quindent to manipulate water. This meant that he could stop massive waves or form massive waves. He used this ability to save his fellow Justice League members when they fight Steppenwolf beneath Gotham Harbor. Although due to his childhood on land, his control of the waves was less refined than his love interest Mira, who by the way could be a descendant of Ariel, but that's for another video. Ariel had the same power and was able to manipulate water, albeit with less power than Aquaman. Her father, King Triton, also had this ability and was able to create a plume of water on which he could ride on. He was much more powerful than your average merperson. Along with their ability to manipulate water and speak to fish, the Little Mermaid and Aquaman were also incredibly durable and had superhuman strength. Both were able to withstand the extreme pressures of the deep ocean, something that humans really can't do without protection. As a matter of fact, Atlanteans were considered closer in strength to Kryptonians than they were to humans. Ariel was also quite strong. Despite being a tiny mermaid child, she was still able to move a heavy boulder that served as a door to her secret grotto. She was also able to survive a huge fall down Ursula's whirlpool, which would have easily killed a mere mortal like Sam Jackson or Dwayne Johnson. Arthur Curry also possessed superhuman strength and durability, and was even able to go up against Superman without dying. He was also able to lift a nuclear submarine over his head. This was due to the fact that he was the heir to the Atlantean throne. His royal Atlantean blood made him more powerful than the average Atlantean. Both the Little Mermaid and Aquaman could also breathe above and beneath the waves, and swim at incredibly fast speeds. Both the Aquaman and Little Mermaid franchises feature a trident with immense power. In Aquaman, it's the Trident of Atlantis, an ancient weapon that was once wielded by the rulers of the underwater kingdom. It greatly boosted the power of any individual using it, and because it can only be held by the royal bloodline, whoever had this weapon was the rightful ruler of Atlantis. It was a dangerous weapon with almost unlimited power, and accidentally sunk Atlantis to the bottom of the ocean many years ago. In The Little Mermaid, King Triton also has a magical trident. Like the Trident of Atlantis, only Triton's bloodline can wield this magical weapon, unless he signs it over to someone in a sketchy deal with the Sea Witch. It also gave its wielder the power to hurl energy bolts at people, create rainbows, rainstorms, and it could even turn a mermaid into a human. I think if Ariel and Aquaman ever met, they would get along quite well because they both have a hard time fitting in. They don't really belong under the sea with their own people, but at the same time, they'll never truly fit on land. For Ariel, this was due to her curiosity for humanity. For Arthur, this was due to his troubled childhood and family drama. But in the end, they both serve a higher purpose, which is to serve as a bridge of understanding between their race and humanity's. Now lastly, beneath all that toughness and muscle, Arthur Curry is truly just a little merman on the inside. When he sits on Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, we get a glimpse of the little terrified young boy inside of him who is just looking for some friends and a sense of belonging.
I never really embraced the sea or the land. I've been alone my whole life, but being part of something bigger like this, maybe I'm scared because
and this was because his mother had abandoned him at such a young age. Arthur Curry was damaged goods. He had built a defensive layer around himself by appearing tough and individualistic and selfish, but deep inside, Arthur Curry is just a little mermaid. And when we see this little merman blossom inside of him, it's really where Aquaman shines as a character. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. We certainly enjoyed finding comparisons between The Little Mermaid and Aquaman. We actually have some even more theories that we'd like to explore, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that life is a movie and you are the protagonist.